welcome to CounterPunch Radio. My name is Eric Draitser. Thanks so much for tuning in, coming back to the show. First-time listeners finding the show, welcome aboard. Always happy to have you. CounterPunch is the website. That's where you need to go. Get your subscription to CounterPunch Plus. That's how you help keep CounterPunch moving and keep publishing all the great content every single day. You know it's there on the website every day. We also have exclusive content that is CP Plus only. You get that subscription, you get access to all of that, including all the great columns from Jeff Sinclair, all of the regulars at CounterPunch, many of the guest contributors as well. CounterPunch Plus is a really good way to support CounterPunch and get something out of it. So do that. Do the thing. Go to the website, make the donation, do whatever. All right? Really appreciate that. So it's been a little while since I was able to do a podcast, and I figured we'd get on here today and talk about what the heck happened. What the heck happened to CounterPunch Radio and that weirdo who does it? So here I am talking about that, and I have managing editor, or not managing editor anymore, just the editor, right? Josh, who are you?
I'm whatever you want me to be.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. That's opening a can of worms there. But Joshua Frank is with me today. He's the editor of CounterPunch. He is a swell guy. And Josh, what are we doing today?
Well, Eric, I thought we'd just chat a little bit about some of the stuff you've been dealing with for the past, what is it now, 8-9 months. I think, people that follow you when you used to be on social media, we can talk about that as well, your exit from social media, might have an idea of what's been going on a little bit. But I thought that it'd be, since you're willing to talk about what's been going on, that this would be a good platform to do it and just let the listeners out there know you haven't abandoned CounterPunch. You're focusing on your health and you'll be back. But why don't you talk a little bit about what you've been dealing with and when it started and just go from there.
Sure. So back in May, I guess I'll start there. Back in May, I had very minor pain that I felt. I wouldn't even call it pain. I would say very minor feeling of tenderness in my one of my testicles. So could have easily ignored that, but for whatever reason, something told me not to ignore it, or I felt like I shouldn't ignore it, which I normally would. So I ended up going to the urologist. The urologist ordered up some ultrasounds, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking, maybe I had like some kind of an infection, or maybe I have something else going on. I didn't know what to think. And then maybe there was a feeling in my mind that like the worst case scenario in the back of my mind was maybe it's like testicular cancer or something like that. So that was what I was really nervous about. I went in to see the urologist. The urologist ordered up ultrasounds, came in and basically told me to get my wife on the phone and told me that I don't have testicular cancer. There's nothing to worry about with regard to my testicle, but I have stage 3 kidney cancer. So that was like getting hit by a fucking truck. I don't know how to describe what it felt like to hear that out of nowhere, having had no indications of any kind. I had no physical symptoms other than what I just told you ended up sending me to the urologist in the first place. Other than that, I had no symptoms. I felt great. I was in the best health probably of my life, if not certainly in the last number of years. And then all of a sudden it was just like everything kind of shattered,
Yeah.
And so this was on a Monday. I immediately was sent same day to go get CT scans to confirm what he had seen on the ultrasound. I went and got the CT scans. Of course, they confirmed it. Stage 3 kidney cancer, large, very aggressive malignant tumor on my left kidney, basically half of the whole kidney, the entire bottom half of it. So a very large tumor. And that there's really only one course of action, and that's surgery to take the whole kidney.
Mm-hmm.
So this, like I said, this was Monday, May 21st, I think it was. And by Wednesday, I was in New York City meeting with a surgeon who basically bumped me up the list. And the following Tuesday, which was the day after Memorial Day, I was first up for surgery, 7:00 in the morning. So it really went from diagnosis to surgery in literally 7 days. So in that sense, I'm very lucky because a lot of people have to sit around and wait for surgery weeks, sometimes even months, So in that regard, I'm very lucky. I'm extremely lucky to have caught it the way that it was caught, almost by chance. And actually, I suppose I should probably note that what I'm describing as far as the lack of symptoms is common with kidney cancer. And it's one of the reasons why kidney cancer is a particularly dangerous cancer, because it doesn't really give a lot of symptoms. It's known as a silent killing cancer, that people just find out too late,
Yeah.
So anyway, so the next week I was in surgery. They took the kidney out. Everything was successful. I was home. Actually, I only spent one night in the hospital, but I can tell you truthfully, the next few nights at home were brutal, brutal. Um, the pain was quite a bit, and it really wasn't from the surgery. It was actually gas pain from the procedure itself. It's like,
Hmm.
I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. It was so bad. Um, anyway,
But it's
so
also this kidney cancer stage 3 at your age is very rare.
extremely rare. Most people with kidney cancer of this kind, most people with kidney cancer are in their 60s and 70s and 80s. Um, I'm I'm very much an outlier. I'm very much an
Hmm.
outlier to have had this at 40. So in that sense, so it's like, it's a weird kind of duality or whatever. Like, I feel really lucky to have caught it and had my surgery as quickly as I did and be more or less okay afterwards, and also extremely unlucky that I'm even fucking dealing with this at this age. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I feel both of those things at the same time, if that makes sense.
And the surgery itself was a success, right?
Oh yeah, the surgery was a success. It's one of the really fortunate things about living in New York City is that you are in close proximity to some of the world's best, medicine and surgeons and so forth. I've already been through this once with my son, who had open heart surgery when he was born. So I already
Mhm.
know the importance of having world-class surgeons that you have access to,
Yeah.
that was in 2020. But anyway, so yeah, in that sense, I'm lucky to have been in New York City area, to be able to go right to like Mount Sinai and go to like one of the best urological surgeons in the entire country, who is like at the cutting edge of robotic surgery and all of that. So in that sense, I was very lucky. Yeah.
Hmm. And I know that you, after the diagnosis and probably up to now, have really racked your brain about what potentially could have caused this, because typically there are environmental factors. I know we've gone down the rabbit hole with different things, poisoned well water, and the whole gamut, and still aren't really sure
I have
what was
no
behind it.
idea. I have no idea. My oncologist said that kidney cancer is from I guess the latest research. Kidney cancer is 97% environmentally acquired.
Mm.
So really, only like 3% of cases can be attributed to genetics. Now, maybe I fall in that 3%. It's possible. I mean, obviously, some people do, but the overwhelming majority of these cases are attributed
Mhm.
to various environmental factors, including, some of the more high-profile ones that people have read about, like forever chemicals and some of the other really nasty pollutants and other things that are now in our groundwater and in streams and all over the place, thanks to our modern industry and so forth. So anyway, I had looked into that possibility. I have a well rather than municipal water. So I looked into the possibility that maybe my groundwater was contaminated. I had my groundwater tested for PFAS, those so-called forever chemicals. It came up negative, which I was shocked, because I was sure that that was what caused it. Because without going too far down this rabbit hole, there are confirmed cases of PFAS contamination in the general area of the Hudson Valley that I live in.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like
A stretch.
it wasn't a stretch to think that maybe this was
Yeah.
what happened, but then when
But it's
I did,
also in the end, it was kind of a relief because that means you're your family hasn't been drinking poisoned
Well,
water.
yeah. I mean, I was just in pieces mentally thinking that
Yeah.
like my children were being poisoned every day when they took their baths, that my wife was, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
then it starts to snowball in your mind that like, oh my God, I picked this fucking house. I'm the one who wanted us to move here. Now you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
then that it really kind of sends you into a little bit of a psychological tailspin. I mean, it did for me, certainly. And that took a while, really, until I got the test results back. So, you know, the
Yeah.
water test results. But then it was like back to square one, you know, it was like, get the results back. They're negative. It's like, cool. We're not being poisoned every day, but what the hell happened? Like,
Yeah.
I'm still, you know, so I don't know. I have no way of knowing. I don't know that I ever will know. Maybe something, maybe the water was contaminated at a different place that I lived. Maybe
Hmm.
something in New York City when I was still in the city. Maybe exposure to something else. Maybe it was medications that I took when I was a child. You know, I mean, that was something that was raised. I had an endocrinologist when I was a kid because I was short statured and there was a concern that I had a growth hormone issue. So I used to see an endocrinologist and I took artificial growth hormone when I was a kid. Then
Mm.
I met with a doctor about 6 months ago, who, or not even like 3 months ago, who raised the possibility, like, you ever think maybe it was because of that? And I said, I didn't until just now.
Wow.
Thanks. You know,
Yeah.
so I really don't know. Um,
And it was a cancer that had been growing for quite some time.
well, that's what the surgeon, the urologist, said. He said based on the size, based on the progression, he would assume that it had been in there at least 5, 6 years,
Wow.
which is crazy to imagine. But
Yeah.
that's what he said. Now I don't know. It's impossible to know. Maybe it was like even faster growing than you could think, and it wasn't that long. I don't know, but it was massive. It was
Hmm.
massive. Um, yeah,
And you have one more kidney, so that's good news,
sure
right?
do. Yeah.
um, so after the surgery, I know that you've gone through some treatments. You're in a trial. I don't know what all you can talk about there.
I could talk about that. I'm doing a clinical trial. So there's an experimental medication that I'm taking. I say experimental just because it's a clinical trial. It's not like it's like, you know, unknown. Many thousands of people are in this trial. This is now like the third stage of it. It's basically like, as far as I understand it, it's basically the last step before FDA approval, basically.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm taking this medication, which is daily. And then in addition to that, I also do chemotherapy. Well, it's not technically chemotherapy, it's immunotherapy, but it's all the same. Like, you sit in the chemo area with all the chemo patients and you get your infusion just like everybody else, you know? So, but like, it's the kind of thing that people have seen on TV marketed as like Keytruda and other similar products. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know, it's that
That one you
basically.
know that you're getting, but the treatment you potentially could be
Right.
getting a placebo.
Yeah, so it's a clinical trial where I'm doing this medication that could potentially be placebo. In addition to that, I get these infusions, which is, you know, I get them regularly every 6 weeks, and yeah, and that's a year long process, and that started in the summertime last summer. So in basically the beginning of August. So I'm going to
Yeah.
be doing this until August or the end of July.
And as far as you know, I mean, this is really preventable, preventative treatment,
Yes,
right?
the immunotherapy is designed to try to prevent this from coming back.
Because as far as you
Chemo,
know, also you're cancer free at the
yeah,
moment.
well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the complication, because like when I had my surgery, I was happily and triumphantly on on Facebook being like, got my surgery, I'm out, I'm cancer free, you know. And then like my oncologist was like, yeah, not quite, you know. And it's like, cancer cells are still floating around in your blood. Like, that's part of cancer, is that just because they remove the tumor, it doesn't mean that there's absolutely zero cancer. It just means that there's
Hmm.
nothing identifiable at the moment, and that they have to continue monitoring that and so forth, and that the cancer cells travel around throughout your body and they look for different organs to attach to and so forth. So it's all very scary and very horrible. But anyway, um, so the immunotherapy is basically, and I mean, if there's any medical people who are listening to this and could absolutely correct me, I totally would be willing to accept that, because I might not be totally correct. But my basic understanding of it is that the immunotherapy is supposed to suppress the creation of the proteins that would lead to cancerous tumors from forming, essentially.
Hmm.
So it's supposed to suppress that
The treatment that
creation.
you know that you're receiving, not the
Yeah, that's
trial.
right. That's the immunotherapy. The other medication or placebo, I don't know, and I won't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to know, actually, because
Mm.
I'm not totally clear if they ever tell you, or if they tell you several years later after the trial's over, or what. All I know is that the only thing I will know is the type of medication it was if the cancer were to come back, because then it has to be made part of my medical history.
Hmm.
So like then I would know, but that won't happen unless obviously the worst happens and the cancer comes back.
Yeah. And these treatments, obviously, the stress of what you've been going through, the just the physical exhaustion that this causes, plus you have a regular job and children and a life. But I know that these treatments have also been kind of wiping you out a little bit.
It's exhausting. I I don't know how to explain it really. It's not like a physical exhaustion. It's a kind of mental exhaustion that doesn't mental exhaustion almost doesn't really encapsulate it. It's like a
Like a long
combination.
COVID sort of like brain fog
Sort
sort
of,
of thing.
yeah. I mean, it's sort of a fogginess, a kind of inability to focus the way that I normally would focus, a difficulty recalling information that I would normally be able to recall very easily, um, getting confused by things that shouldn't be confusing to me, like, for instance, reading alternate train schedule and understanding that, like, okay, the train is actually going to this station and not to this station, which is a very basic thing for any person who lives in New York. But it's like, for whatever reason, it was fucking confusing to me. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I just couldn't, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. And so anyway, so my doctor had recommended that I read up on something called chemo brain. So I did, and seems like kind of what I feel like I'm going through, in the sense of like this sort of haziness and fogginess and difficulty focusing,
Hmm.
difficulty remembering. Um, my understanding is that chemo brain is supposed to be temporary and that it's supposed to go away once you're done with your chemo. So I have to hope that that's the case, because I definitely don't feel like myself. I mean, I definitely don't feel mentally like myself.
Hmm. Well, and anybody that's been through an extreme amount of stress too
That's
knows
the
how
other
that can
thing.
impact.
And that's the other thing. And if you follow me on social media, I didn't even talk about it on the podcast here, but if you follow me on social media, you know that we had a horrible tragedy in my family 2 months before this happened. My
Hmm.
mother in law was struck by a car. She was in a coma. It shattered our family. And then 8 weeks later, I got my diagnosis. So it was all like very close together. And
2023 was a shitty year.
the worst year. And where was I supposed to be the night that happened? I was literally on my way up to moderate your book event in Albany,
Yeah.
and when that happened. So that was insane.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like I said, not even 8 weeks later, I got my diagnosis. So I mean, in the end, I mean, the worst is my wife. My wife's 2023 was
Yeah.
beyond horrible, beyond
Yeah.
horrible. So
Um, so talking about social media a little bit, you've exited from social media. Bless you for that. And I'm sure that's been good and bad in so many ways. But I know
I'm
people have missed you on social media and your hot takes,
yeah,
and
you know,
no signs of coming back.
that's tough, man. I feel bad, because I do feel a certain kind of obligation to be publicly available in this way, like on social media, especially now with everything that's going on in Gaza and Eastern Europe and Africa and 1,000 other things that need to be talked about. So there is a part of me that feels a tremendous sense of guilt in not being around and commenting and active and putting out videos and podcasts and writing. And I I really do like feel a tremendous sense of guilt about that. But at the same time, it's like I was saying, it's so hard. I don't know why. It's very difficult for me to psychologically or mentally like get the energy together for it, mental
Hmm.
energy, to want to engage in this way. Like doing the podcast, honestly, the podcast part is the easy part. You know what I mean? Sitting and talking and then doing the editing, that's the easier part. The harder part is engaging with the broader left, identifying people that I want to talk to, reaching out to them, arranging times, finding time in my schedule, their schedule, sitting down and doing it. Right? That there's like a certain kind of social energy you have to have, or social engagement, you know what I mean? And it's like if you stop, like for me, like I kind of stopped consuming a lot of content, content online, so I wasn't really feeling the motivating sort of energy to reach out to people, you know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
obviously being off social media just makes that even easier to just like be like kind of separated from it. It's not that I stopped reading the news. I didn't. Obviously, I sit and read the news every day, but
Yeah.
the public engagement with the issue has been difficult. Not because I don't want to, I do. That's where the guilt comes from. But there's some other part of me that's like, you don't have that in you right now, man. You just don't have that in you right now. You need to just back off a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like,
Well, I mean, I think that even people that haven't gone through what you've gone through can relate to that, having to exit from engaging on a lot of these things, because it's a mental health issue as well. And I think even broader on the left and activists, we do have to take breaks in order to recharge ourselves as well. So I
I
know that
got,
your goal is ultimately to come back and have a
I've never
regular
taken a
podcast.
break. I had never taken a break. I
Right.
didn't even know that that was allowed. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To be perfectly honest with you, ever since I had become public with politics and media and such, I had never taken a break. I just didn't seem like a break was something you could do. Like, this is just what you do. This is part of you, who you are. This is part of your life. This is what you
Hmm.
do. And now that all of this has happened, I didn't even really think of it as like a break. And I certainly didn't plan it to be that way. It just was like a switch turned off. And I was just like, I can't do this right now. Like, I just can't do this right now, And
Hmm.
then a week became a month, and a month became two, and two became four. You know what I mean? And it's just like, or however long it's been now. I guess I stopped. I guess I officially got off social media in like early July or something. So,
Yeah.
right around when I
Well, you
started
got off of
recording the
social
show.
media for other reasons as well, right? Weren't you compromised, or
Well,
there was a hack?
yeah. I had an issue like that, but that wouldn't have kept me off social media permanently, really, because that was just a matter of locking down and then reopening my stuff. That wasn't like that big of a deal. I had my information hacked, but a lot of people get that. That happens.
Yeah.
That's fairly common. It really was more about just not having the energy for it, And I look, anybody who's a regular on left wing social media knows how absolutely exasperating it can be. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and,
It's
and
just
Twitter's only gotten worse. So
I'm not
I mean,
even. Yeah, Twitter doesn't even enter. I'm saying social media. I'm really only thinking about Facebook, to be perfectly
yeah,
honest
yeah,
with you, because Twitter is just like, I don't
yeah.
know.
It's
Is it even
horrible.
called Twitter anymore? Who knows?
No, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I
So
really appreciate you talking about a lot of this. I know it's personal, and you do talk about personal stuff on the podcast now and then, but we have had a lot of people reach out, concerned, wondering where you've been, and
I've been
so
meaning to record something like this for months, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's not just for counterpunchers. There's also people who support me on Patreon, who,
yeah,
bless them, haven't canceled their subscriptions despite the fact that I haven't put out much in a while. But that's what it is, man. I mean, everybody's struggling these days. Everyone has to count every dollar. I would never fault anybody for canceling a subscription or whatever. I would do the same if a person wasn't putting stuff out, But it sucks for me too, because I feel this weird conflict between desperately wanting to fulfill an obligation to other people who are supporting my work and Counterpunch, obviously, and at the same time being like, I just don't have it in me right now.
yeah. I mean, I think everybody can understand that and empathize with that.
So yeah, I mean that's what it is. I do plan on bouncing back. I do. I do think that this is all hopefully temporary. Hopefully, I will come out of this and not have this come back. I guess that's the other thing I should have mentioned. The problem with kidney cancer, it has an extremely high, rate of return. I guess it comes back 50% of the time for people within the first 5 years. So it has an extremely high recurrence rate, much higher than other cancers. So that's the other concern in all of this too, is that I mean, I'm only 40. Like, I still, in theory, have a lot of years ahead of me.
Well, but and also one of the benefits for you is that you're young.
That's the other thing.
That
That's
I
the
think
other
the
thing.
recidivism rate is probably a much lower depending on your age.
I
Or
don't
is it?
know. I don't know that. I don't know if the rate is lower based on your age, but I do know that because of my age, I'm able to physically tolerate this much better
Yeah.
than people who would have underlying conditions and be much older. I really don't have any physical side effects from the chemo.
Hmm.
I don't feel anything physically, but now I definitely have to admit that I have this mental thing going on. Um, I would say I only really became cognizant of that in the last 2 months. I guess it probably takes several months before that really kicks in, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, so.
I'm sure you're you were functioning in a state of shock for months, just going
Yeah, but I
through
think that by the
it.
time that I started the chemo, I don't know that I was really in shock anymore. And I felt really good about the fact that I would sit down and do these infusions, then just like get up and like go to work, you know what I mean? And be
Yeah.
fine physically. And then all of a sudden, the mental stuff kind of snuck up on me, I guess you could say. And that's where I am now. I'm
Yeah.
definitely in the middle of that, as I have now, like around the 6 month mark of this treatment. So, I have another 6 months to go, and we'll see. I would like to think that once I'm done with the infusions, gradually this like fog is going to clear, or whatever the hell it is.
Hmm. And then going forward for you after you're done with your treatments with this current round, annually or 6 months, you'll have to continue to go in and get your blood checked, your urine
Oh,
checked.
more often than that, I think.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I think I think it's going to be every 3 months. I'm doing CT scans. I mean, I have been doing regular CT scans ever since this, as part of the follow up from the surgery, and also as part of this clinical trial that I'm doing. So luckily, thankfully, I'm clear as of a couple of weeks ago. CT scans came back clean, so that's good.
Hmm.
But in any event, CT scans regularly, and yeah, I get my blood checked, feel like every day. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's like a couple times a month. And it sucks. That sucks, especially for me because I don't have the best veins, so it's like not always the easiest process to like get my blood. But anyway, so dealing with that, I don't know, Josh. I don't know that there's really all that much else to say.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it sucks that, like, as this has all happened, the Gaza war and everything else, that's such a big issue, has been such, burning at the forefront of everybody's thinking. And I'm like sitting here being like, yeah, I can't right now. So
Yeah.
like I said, I feel guilt about that. I mean, I did put out a video. I have done a couple of podcasts. Yoav was on the show, and we've Arun was on the show and talking about various aspects of the situation. But it's just, I don't know, not enough. I guess it's of such great global importance. I feel like I should be putting things out every day, but I just don't have it
Well,
in me
I
right
know
now.
that the Counterpunch community, I know that your supporters on Patreon and others will be ready for you whenever you're ready. So,
Yeah,
and I
I
know that,
appreciate that.
the people that do know what you've been going through, you have a ton of support. And I
Thanks,
know
buddy.
that the Counterpunch community is a family of sorts. We're, it might be dysfunctional. We might yell at each other, but ultimately we're all in the same struggle together. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Now,
you're a
Counterpunch is
big part of
awesome.
that, and you're a big
Thanks,
part of
buddy.
the Counterpunch family as well.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I Counterpunch is the greatest. that's why I keep telling people to subscribe. I've been doing that for years and years now because, I mean, I subscribe to CounterPunch. There's a reason. CounterPunch is great. And especially now, I mean, Josh, you and I have talked about this. Like, I read The Politics of Anti-Semitism so many years ago, like when I was like barely even conscious of what CounterPunch was, or even of the real issues in Palestine. And I remember reading that and learning about who Edward Said was, but also who Alexander Cockburn was, who Jeffrey Sinclair was. And it was like, CounterPunch has always been there on Palestine. I mean, for
Yeah.
me at least, always, especially as a kid who grew up with Zionist propaganda, it was really powerful to come across it. And, CounterPunch has sort of held that flag in place, while a lot of other media outlets have not, including those that, tilt liberal and are finding ways to excuse
Well, and it's amazing how
what's
so
going
many of those
on.
issues that, I was reading Counterpunch back when I was in college, and so many of these issues are being raised again in this current conflict, in this current environment on college campuses and everywhere, right? And Counterpunch is one of the few outlets that's been talking about this been
30
publishing about
years.
this for
Yeah.
30 years.
30 years CounterPunch has been on that, and a
Yeah.
lot of other publications have not. Even those that have come around in recent years, you should read what they were publishing 25 years ago, And
Yeah.
so, like, people can take issue with various things that get published in CounterPunch. I know you and I talk about it all the time, oh, did you see that piece? That was great. Did you see that piece? I didn't like that, but that's part of what makes CounterPunch awesome. You know what I mean? Is that, like, it is that place where you can go and you can find that. And quite frankly, I mean, some of these books that CounterPunch has published over the years are like permanent fixtures on my bookshelf, for a
Yeah.
reason. Not because I'm, work with CounterPunch,
Well,
but
Jeff and I talk
because,
about it often. You come to Counterpunch, and you're likely to be angry one day and excited the next. So that's sort of
oh man, yeah, it's like how much hate mail I got on Ukraine and then instantly turned to support on the Gaza thing. It's like, it's like, you're so stupid on Ukraine, but you understand Gaza and Palestine.
yeah.
And it's like, maybe I understand more than you think.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time, Eric. And
Yeah,
I know we all look forward to you making a return, and you do it
thanks,
at your
buddy.
pace and at your schedule, and we'll
I'll be
be
back.
here when you're ready.
Yep, I'll be back. No worries there. I'll definitely be back as soon as I can. And I really appreciate everybody continuing to support Counterpunch and those people reaching out to me. Of course, I really appreciate that. And Josh and Jeff and Becky and Nat and everybody, I appreciate all of you guys very, very much.
Cool.
All right, everybody. That's the tearjerker episode. So we'll talk again very, very soon. Take care. Support Counterpunch. See you soon.